Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's stream. I have a doozy of videos to cover for you guys tonight. Well, you guys are in for a treat. Let's see who's in the chat right now. Oh, what? Oops. Sorry about that. Little hiccup. Darth Ghostface, welcome to the stream. Apologies, I typed it in the chat a few moments ago. ScruffyLookingNerfHerder was unable to make it. He's tied up with personal stuff. So my apologies. You're just going to get me tonight. So my apologies, and ScruffyLookingNerfHerder extends his apologies as well. Solar Volo done. Welcome to the stream. Yes, he did, in fact. Scruffy just uploaded an amazing video debunking TCW and just showcasing how terrible it is. I suggest to all of you to go subscribe over to his channel and give that video a watch. I shared it earlier today. All right. Let's get started. Because I've got at least 3 videos lined up for you guys, and possibly a 4th if we have enough time. That Darth Ghostface just recommended to me. Shout out to Ghostface for that. I didn't watch the whole video because I wanted to avoid spoiler for novels I'm planning to read. That's perfectly fine. Why is he still? I'm gonna have to. Okay, let us get started. Share screen, and okay, I just want to get this one out of the way first because this guy drove me nuts the last time. Oh, hang on. And official Ray Blitz is crying in the chat. Everybody, we've got a shill in the chat, everybody. We have a fake fan in the chat. I honestly don't know why he keeps hanging around here if he knows that he's just going to keep getting humiliated all the damn time. Anyway, just to get it out of the way, we're covering Critical Analysis Hub with his video of why I hate the Millennium Falcon, and you should too. Critical Analysis Hub, who said that, Ahsoka should have been in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. He apparently hates one of the most iconic ship designs in all of science fiction, in all of pop culture. All right, so let's get this out of the way. This is going to be cancerous. Oh, I have absolutely no problem with that. Transphobia is not a thing. Nobody is afraid of trans people. Anyway, let's get this out of the way because, okay, place your bets right now. How many of you are going to bet that he's going to start repeating what he says halfway through the video? This is 9 minutes and 34 seconds long. And if any of you guys saw my stream where I covered his Ahsoka video, and you know how much he repeated himself there, how much are you willing to bet he's going to repeat himself here? Lore Master Chris, okay, now he's rage baiting. Everyone loves the Falcon. Absolutely. I have seen absolutely nobody hate it. Retro Ryan, welcome to the stream for the very first time. Kawil Cruz Ramirez, why should we hate the Millennium Falcon? Oh, this ought to be good. He will definitely keep repeating. I am convinced that this guy runs an AI channel. Xanatos, welcome to the stream. Howdy. This is like saying the Enterprise is a terrible ship design. Which Enterprise? There's like a bazillion of them. What are your thoughts on Not My Star Wars? He sadly passed away last year. I think I've seen like maybe a couple of his shorts, but I don't really have an opinion of him, but I'll check out some of his content. But that's really sad to see that he passed away. That is unfortunate. All right. Good audience. Good active chat. I like it. Let's get started.
There's this thing Star Wars fans do where we all just nod and smile whenever the Millennium Falcon shows up on screen. Like it's this untouchable icon that can do no wrong. The fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy, the smuggler's dream, the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. But if we're being real for a second, the Falcon is basically that one friend who's always late, always broke, and somehow still gets invited to every party because they're fun when they actually show up. And the thing is, we act like all those breakdowns and malfunctions are part of the charm.
Because it is. I mean, you said it yourself. It's the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. It's literally supposed to look like that. Because it's not about appearances. It's about, the inside. It's like a used car. It's like a used car. All right? So it's like people like old cars, even if they break down.
Hyperdrive fails in the middle of an escape. Cables spark during a dogfight. Panels fall off when it lands. Han and Chewie are basically full-time mechanics with a side hustle in heroic.
Here we go. Using footage from Disney's film Solo. #Solo lost money. Okay, so you're saying that outside of being smugglers, they have to be mechanics. No crap. Everyone in the galaxy basically has to service their own vehicles. We see that all the time. This is absolutely nothing new. Okay, ouch. Critical analysis of, boy, I wish I got invited to party. Yeah, he'll probably just repeat that line 100 times. It breaks, you fixed it, thus it's personal. It always perseveres. I think in the Jedi Academy trilogy, Han said something along the lines of, it's a piece of junk, but it's my piece of junk. The Falcon is an old but reliable car that is preserved and even improved by a talented driver and mechanic.
If any other ship in the galaxy pulled this nonsense, it would have been sold for parts decades ago. But because it's the Falcon, we all cheer when it limps into battle like a space jalopy on its last tank of gas.
You're acting as if the Falcon constantly malfunctions. The only reason the Falcon's hyperdrive is knocked out in Episode 5 is because Han and Chewie didn't have time to fix it when they left Hoth. Because they had no idea they were going to get ambushed. You're acting as if this ship is like constantly falling apart. It's not constantly falling apart in Episode 4. It's not constantly falling apart in Episode 6. And I can't really recall a vast majority of the EU novels where the Falcon constantly keeps breaking down. Why are you acting as if this ship is just, held together with duct tape and spit? Because it's not.
What makes it even crazier is how every single mission in this thing is a gamble. Will it make the jump to lightspeed? Or will we all be decorating the inside of a Star Destroyer prison cell? Half the time C-3PO is calculating odds. He's not being dramatic. He's genuinely worried for his life. The Falcon doesn't fly so much as it survives, scraping by on luck, pilot skill, and whatever miracle Chewie manages to wrench into place at the last second. But I'll admit that unpredictability is part of the thrill. Watching it dodge asteroids or weave through a TIE fighter swarm is like watching a beat-up race car somehow. Outmaneuver the latest high-tech models. It's messy.
Okay, I'm not really... this guy is literally... Hey, it wasn't even falling apart in Episode 4. Oh, good catch. Good catch, Kawil. Good catch. My first car was 15 years old. In Cloud City, it's because of sabotage, and R2 manages to fix it. So are you just going to... So is basically your entire thing going to be, I hate this because it's constantly breaking down? Like, what the hell?
It's loud, it's risky, and it shouldn't work, but it does. And every time it does, you get that rush of, oh wow, they actually pulled it off. That's the kind of...
Okay, you're just... That's called building suspense. You know, keeping the audience on the edge of their seats, you jackass.
chaos energy the Falcon runs on, and it's addictive. Still, there's a part of me that can't shake the feeling that this ship's legend is built on near misses rather than clean victories. It's...
Okay, you can say that about literally any legend. Because why the hell would we want a story about, you know, clean victories? You know, everything went according to plan. Yes, the cameo in episode 3 is canonically the YT-1300. That is the Falcon. The Falcon was there at the Battle of Coruscant. And it's all explained in the novel Star Wars Millennium Falcon, which is from the expanded universe, and it takes place, I think, after Fate of the Jedi, I believe, because I actually did read that novel. Yeah, I gotta read that now. Yeah, you should. I actually did end up reading it.
It's not some flawless marvel of engineering, it's a survivor. And survival in the Star Wars galaxy isn't about looking good or being perfect. It's about being stubborn enough to keep going, no matter how bad the odds are. The Falcon isn't a hero because it's the best, it's a hero because it refuses to quit. In this video, we're going to dig into why the Millennium Falcon might just be the most overrated ship in Star Wars.
I don't know, you literally just kind of described why people like it and why it works. You kind of just shot your argument in the foot right before you even got started. And yeah, this is definitely AI because of that skip where it says the Millennium Falcon isn't a hero because it's the best, but without any pause in that sentence, he immediately jumps to the next one. So I am convinced that this has to be, you know, overrated, he says.
Why its constant failures somehow made it a legend, and how a broken-down freighter with a history of malfunctions became one of the most beloved icons in cinema. We'll break down its best moments, its worst breakdowns, and the strange charm that keeps us loving a ship we'd never actually trust with our lives.
You know, this kind of doesn't fit with the vibe of what your video title is going with. With this kind of title, I'm convinced that you're going to say, you know, the Millennium Falcon sucks and you shouldn't like it. But no, you're basically just going to say, okay, this ship, we're going to break down everything about it, and then we're going to, you know, talk about why it became the most beloved thing ever. I don't know, chat. I feel like he's full of that's a video title only a fake Star Wars fan would make. I don't even think the Disney shills hate the Millennium Falcon. I hate these shitty AI channels. I guarantee that because I've flipped through Critical Analysis Hub's channel before, and it's all filled with like rage bait. Basically, like I could cover this guy just because his voice is British doesn't make him sound smart. It makes him sound like a freaking retard.
The Millennium Falcon is one of those Star Wars icons that fans treat like it can do no wrong. It's on posters.
Okay, he's already immediately starting to repeat himself. I am going to cut him off there because I am not about to go through driving myself insane because he's repeating the same stupid thing over and over and over again. I can't. No, that was literally the exact same dialogue as the very beginning of the damn video. No. That video would have been a waste of time anyway. Yeah, he doesn't even, like, he wastes 2 minutes of my time, and he doesn't even give, like, a basic outline of why he hates, you know, the Millennium Falcon. CJ, welcome to the chat. All the people with British accents in this place act like pretentious morons. Yeah, that's an unfortunate. All right, next up on our list is somebody that you all know very well. Someone you all know extremely well. Welcome back to the channel, Darth Momo with Why Leia Lied to Vader About Scarif in A New Hope. Oh boy, running damage control for Disney once again. Khalil, he probably took pieces of his previous scripts and let the AI run it from there. Chances are critical analysis hub, yeah. He's almost as bad as Star Wars comics or Stupendous Wave. Oh, Buck. Toprawa Scarif. Oh yeah, I actually read that. I actually believe I owned that issue from Star Wars Empire. The first rule of flying: love. Love keeps her in the air when she ought to fall down. Tells ya she's hurting before she keens. Makes her a home. Leia didn't lie. Scarif is non-canon. Facts. Here we go.
Friends, Darth Momo here. When it comes to Leia in the beginning of A New Hope, I've seen some people suggest it's kind of a plot hole that Leia tries to lie to Vader and bluff her way out of it and say they had nothing to do with Scarif when Vader literally just watched them leave Scarif.
Because Disney Star Wars doesn't give a crap about continuity and will constantly make the 6 films make less and less sense the more crap they pile onto them. This is not, the EU where they made sure everything lined up with the 6 films. No. This is them going ahead and just retconning crap for the sake of punching down on George Lucas. Oh God, it's Darth Momo. Yep. Darth Momo, everybody. Oh, that reminds me. I just figured out a clip I can use for my channel. Moo. 2005 in general was full of masterpieces. The early 2000s in general had a lot of masterpieces. I want to go back. Take me home.
But is it really a plot hole? If you take
Yes, it's a plot hole. A plot hole.
more than a quick 1-second look at it, you'll actually see how it's not only not a plot hole, but it actually makes sense. First off, for anyone who thinks it's too much to stomach that Leia and Captain Antilles would try to bluff their way out of this after just escaping the battle, set Rogue One aside and watch the opening of the original movie as is. It literally starts with Leia's ship shooting at a literal Star Destroyer, and then as soon as they get boarded, Leia says they're a peaceful ship on their way to Alderaan. Like, come on. How is Rogue One a problem and not this?
Because we don't have any context prior. Oh, Lucky Kennedy in the chat, and of course he's throwing a hissy fit. Modded by, of course, easily one of the best years in human history to be alive. The EU added to the movies. Disney contradicts and disrespects the films. Actually, give me a second, guys. I gotta check something real quick. I'll take care of that later. Holy crap! I thought it got written. Okay, there we go. I've been meaning to do that for a bit. Okay. Yes, indeed. Lucky Kennedy is a Disney shill. He actually exposed himself to me on Discord that he likes some stuff from Disney Star Wars. Like he likes Kyber, like he likes lightsaber crystal bleeding. The moron.
Moving on, it's important to establish that while, yes, we as the audience know Vader watched Leia flee Scarif, and Vader himself saw Leia leave, Leia has no idea that Vader saw them.
Vader was literally about to make his way towards the Tantive Ford. They knew he was right there. Yep. Yes, he does. Vader is right there. He's right here. He slaughtered an entire hallway of rebels to get to the ship. And you're meaning to tell me nobody knew he was freaking outside? Dumbass.
She was inside the ship. They don't exactly have a window or sunroof for her to watch as they deboard.
Yes, they do! It's called a viewport, dummy! What the hell? People can look... Do you forget that the Millennium Falcon you can look out of to fly? Rogue One's ending contradicts beginning of A New Hope. Yes, it does. Of course, an EU hater goes around calling everyone a bigot and a pedo and whatever ist under the sun. Yep. The Exalted One. Star Wars is 1 through 6. Only Lucas's films are canonical. That's false. Star Wars is episodes 1 through 6 and the expanded universe. That's it. That's the canon. That is the real canon. That the facts line up. They also have cameras all over the ship. Yeah, they have scanners and whatnot. What the hell, man?
Sure, you could make the argument that Vader's destroyer at Scarif followed her to Tatooine, but they literally powered up Tantive 4 and fled, so they probably didn't have time to scan.
It's Tantive 4, you moron. The Tantive 4, or a blockade runner. By that logic, TCW isn't canon either. Ooh, Lore Master Chris. Nice. Nice one.
All the Imperial ships and ship signatures before they jump to hyperspace. But moving on to the opening of A New Hope, the reason Leia lies is because that's all she's got left. Vader, the Emperor's right-hand man, is literally on their ship interrogating everyone.
I'm pretty sure Leia was doing this to stall so RTD2 and C-3PO could get off the ship. Tantive 5-4. Yeah, it sounds like he completely... I think this dude just craps out these videos in one take and that's it. Yes, I'm a Lucas shill. He would agree with what I said. Oh, God. We got another Lucas bootlicker. Dude, his actions speak louder than his words. Based on George's actions, he totally saw the EU as canon. So, nice try. If you keep trying to peddle your lies, one of my mods is going to send you to the world between worlds. So you can stew for a little. Well, at least you have, like, maybe one brain cell operating.
Peter thinks they're guilty, and Leia knows she's guilty. What is she supposed to do? Throw her hands up and say, "You got me," and surrender? No. She's going to bluff her way out of it as best as she possibly can because she's got a mission to complete.
A bluff against Darth Vader. You do know that makes Leia sound like a freaking retard, right? God. The way I see it, she was lying because she wanted to throw, Vader off the scent or make it or stall so R2 and 3PO could get off the ship. A stall tactic, as it were. His actions are that he let Filoni bulldoze over the EU. Yeah, and that was an absolute mistake. Ooh, everybody is immediately piling on the facts. Great job, everybody. A bluff against a Force user? Dumb. Yeah, it's not like Force users can't tell when a person's lying.
There is literally nothing else she can do. But for anyone who thinks it's laughable she'd do that, ask yourselves this. Do criminals ever lie to the cops? All the time, even when it's blatantly obvious that they are lying.
And there's a thing called a lie detector. Not to mention that, people can be trained to study the human face to tell when somebody is lying. Darth Vader has the Force. And we even see that he We even see that they interrogate Leia afterwards. So his actions speak louder than words. Yeah. Except his actions do indicate that he saw the EU as canon. If you go ahead and watch ScruffyLookingNerfHerder's video, Darth Ghostface, if you can, link Scruffy's video in the chat. That would be greatly appreciated. Scruffy debunks TCW. So nice try. Wow, Darth Momo made a video shorter than 2 hours. I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised too. There was another video of his I wanted to cover, but I'll probably get to that next week with Scruffy. Because Scruffy himself definitely said he can make it. Yeah, his most recent video. Can you please link that in the chat for good old Exalted One here? So he can cry and mauled.
And when Leia lies, does Vader buy it? Absolutely not. If you look at Vader's dialogue, it's quite obvious he knows they're lying, and that's why he gets so pissed off so easily in the opening scene. Some may cry plot hole, but if you look at it sincerely, I think it actually works really well, and all the Rogue One details do is simply enhance this part of A New Hope.
Screw you! Rogue One doesn't enhance anything. Spoken like a fake Star Wars fan who wants to be a Disney shill. Screw you, Momo. You just keep outing yourself. I am done with him. For now. Rogue One is trash. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, CJ. Casual Chris, welcome to the stream. The expanding universe not be one-to-one canon, but it's definitely part of the same galaxy. At least the parts that don't contradict it, which is 90. I would say like maybe 98% of the EU doesn't contradict the EU. I mean the 6 films. Connor, welcome to the stream. I've never put A New Hope on and thought about Rogue One for a second. Movie is so boring. Go. I don't know what you're doing, man. Go watch A New Hope. What are you doing? Going to be 28, 10 days before Kuil's birthday, everybody. Wish Kuil a early happy birthday, everybody, in the chat. Gibbet21, welcome to the stream. I have a question, and correct me if I'm wrong, but since George Lucas said that Anakin fulfills the prophecy and destroys the Sith forever, does that mean the Sith's return in the EU is not canon to George? Well, as Alorha from OG Star Wars has put it, there's nothing in the prophecies that says the Sith can't come back. And even when they do in Star Wars Legacy, the holocrons belonging to ancient Sith lords only sees Darth Krayt and his one Sith as pretenders and, a mockery of the Sith. So by that logic, they're not actually Sith lords. They just pilfer the name. If that makes any sense. And on top of that, it did receive approval by George. If George wanted it to be changed, he would have had it changed, but he didn't. He didn't. All right, next up. Actually, based on time, I do think I'll be able to get to the video Darth Ghostface covered. But next up on the list, Corey's Datapad. Here we go. Okay. Welcome, Corey's Datapad with this debate only exists to annoy me. And what he's referring to with debate is the argument of which is canon, the true Star Wars canon, the expanded universe or the 6 films. This guy's basically one big major crybaby because I remember he was throwing a tantrum over the quote, controversy, unquote, about TCW. Corey, Mandalore's biggest fan. Of course he claims to be that. Oh boy, here we go. All right, here we go. I've been meaning to cover this guy for a while.
As someone who has worked on Star Wars fan content in some form since long before Disney bought Lucasfilm, there's an argument I've seen on an almost daily basis. You'll regularly see people who are fans of one specific continuity jump into discussions about the other to say they're not canon.
Okay, let me see which ones I can read. I don't understand why everyone always calls it the expanded universe. The only thing non-canonical is all the Disney shows and the Kathleen Kennedy fanfiction sequels. I mean, the latter half of his statement is pretty much true, but I don't understand what his first part is. Okay. Filoni is a hack. None of his fanfiction nonsense deserves to be canon. That is actually pretty based. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I never paid much attention to the books as decades go. Lucas announced the blah, 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 blah. Okay. Kind of feels like he's just throwing a hodgepodge of stuff around. So he's a fake EU fan then? Yes. Corey downplays the EU while knowing so much of it, which is why I despise him. The controversy is not overblown. Filoni is worse than Kennedy. There, I said it. Well, to be fair, Kennedy doesn't write any of this crap. Filoni does. Filoni is much more involved than Kennedy ever is.
So if you are, for example, talking about something from Legends, then sometimes fans of...
Oh, there we go. He called it Wedgens. He called it Wedgens, guys. Wedgens. He doesn't call it by its proper name. Why did they call it the expanded universe? I guess they just like the name. Because it sounds cool. Brad Stanley. The books were never canon. They were authorized stories, but Lucasfilm stated when Zahn's first trilogy came out that the books were not canon and never would be. Tell that to George Lucas, who literally referenced the EU several times and approved of everything that was happening. The books are canon. Whether you like it or not, they are canon, and they do matter. Nice try, fake fan. You outed yourself. You outed yourself on stream. It's the expanded universe. Welcome, Transformers Fan 03, to the chat. And everybody's already never said they didn't. That's basically what you're implying by saying they were never canon. They are canon, dude. There is evidence. There's hundreds of videos, proving this point. Hell, the word Coruscant appeared in these books. Coruscant, actually comes from those books. The planet comes from those books. Yes, it is, Brad Stanley. I don't know why you would fight this. Mr. Log. Once again, by that logic, that means none of the Marvel comics before the MCU weren't canon, just authorized stories. Oh, damn. Nice. All right, let's go back to this.
The content published by Disney currently will jump in to claim that Legends is not just not part of the current published canon, but that it was never canon. And you'll similarly see Legends fans come out and say that Disney content isn't canon.
Which is true. Disney Star Wars is fake Star Wars. The real Star Wars canon is the 6 films and the expanded universe. If you argue otherwise, you're a fake fan and you're going to get hauled out of this fandom on your ass. And I'll be the one who personally drags you out of the fandom. Starlog humpers are retarded. Absolutely. EU wasn't full G canon, but it was official canon, official Lucasfilm canon, and official Star Wars canon. It's the expanded universe, not Wedgens. Bam! You guys are just hitting in the chat tonight. I love you guys. You're an amazing audience. People need to stop trying claiming if it's not canon or not. Ultimately, which is better? I mean, the answer of which is better is, that's as obvious as the day is bright. The EU trumps Disney Star Wars every single day of the week. There is nothing Disney does that the EU hasn't done a million times better. Nothing.
This is something I find absolutely exhausting because at best, it involves people conflating thing I think is good or bad with canon, or at least using a definition of canon that is kind of practically useless and only seems to exist to start arguments. So all I can think of when I see people saying that is, what do you even really mean?
What we mean is what is true to George Lucas's vision and what is the proper timeline of events. Do you not know what canon means, you moron? God. I prefer the one where Luke's character progression actually makes sense, not where he hides on an island and overdoses on the Force. Don't forget he drinks milk out of a manatee titty. Also, of course, Corey Datapad finds this, exhausting because he doesn't like the expanded universe and he'd rather make money off of Disney. And he just wants his comment sections to stop being filled with arguments. Yeah, well, tough luck, pal. This war is going to continue going on. I don't know how long this war is going to go on, but it's going to keep going on until it's done.
Video, I'm going to primarily focus on the Legends was never canon angle. A lot of my content, whether it's doing lore here or working on Empire at War mods, is more Legends focused. This results in two varieties of comments in this vein on videos or which I come across elsewhere in the wild. One of them is from people looking to denigrate Legends intentionally, and the other, which is much funnier to me, is from people who are fans of Legends content, but then if they don't recognize the thing I'm talking about in the video, they'll say it must be Disney trash or whatever, but we'll get to that later. The first group of those two types of comments usually boils down to calling Legends content fan fiction in some way. This is generally
That is a disgrace to the EU. It is not licensed fan fiction. It's officially canon. You don't call comic books licensed fan fiction. Like, what the hell? This will go on until someone buys Star Wars from Disney and erases the Disney canon and restores the EU. It was canon. It stopped being canon when Disney bought it. They tried to reboot it to create a new audience and they failed it. The EU will forever remain canon, Lore Master Chris. It doesn't matter if Disney owns it. The EU is still canon. The Disney canon is the real licensed fan fiction. Corey he sounds like Sexplained, actually. He does.
Based on the idea that even stuff published by Lucasfilm or licensed by Lucasfilm prior to the Disney buyout only counted as truly canon or truly Star Wars when it came from the George Lucas region of the Skywalker Ranch. Otherwise, it was just sparkling fan fiction. But this only works one way, where after the buyout, everything that was published counts as canon because it doesn't belong to George Lucas anymore. But at the time, Star Wars still belonged to Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm was the one publishing stuff. So if you're going to focus on a legalistic definition of owning the IP and publishing stuff, making it canon, then it applies equally in both cases. Otherwise, the idea would have to be that before the buyout, you could just walk into Lucasfilm or LucasArts or Del Rey publishing the Star Wars novels, where people are working on some bit of licensed Star Wars media and tell everyone, actually, you're not really working on Star Wars, right? I have a bit more sympathy for just the general premise that the only things that count as some pure platonic definition of Star Wars come from George Lucas, so only things that he directly worked on. But that's more from the perspective of people having ownership of their ideas. And even from that perspective, there were a lot more people that contributed to what Star Wars is than just George Lucas, and a lot of them did work at Lucasfilm in various capacities. So,
okay, that was a bunch of word salad that kind of just melted my brain. You do forget that the canon tiers existed to keep everything in line, right? Canon is decided by the creator of an IP, not by who owns the rights to said IP. Absolutely. Ew, Andor. Yeah. It honestly is just so hilarious to me that these people will think we won't call them out for using Disney Star Wars clips. He literally said nothing of value. To be fair, yeah, I think my brain just just starts to kind of ignore whatever these idiots say because, it's just words. It's just moosh. It's just all. Yes? I didn't. Oh, hey, ScruffyLookingNerfHerder. Welcome to the chat. And Boar. Sorry about that, guys. Minor interruption. If whoever owns the rights decides the canon, that means Rings of Power is canon. Okay, well, obviously a line has to be drawn somewhere. I would say that if the owners have shown nothing but disrespect and they don't make any effort to respect an IP, then that's a case where it gets turned over to the fans. I've heard exposition in movies more intelligent than this. Hi. What? Corey ranked the Sad Sacks over the Phantom Menace? Why? Andor confirmed the Mortis gods. Really? I thought that was like Ahsoka or something. Does that mean the MCU is canon to the Marvel comics? It might as well be, because at this point, it seems like Marvel just doesn't care about canon itself anymore. Literally, no one watched the Sad Sacks. Ugh. He did a tier list with Eckhart's Ladder. It was AIDS. Ooh. I gotta find that video. Connor, if you know what channel that was on, I would appreciate it. You can probably send me the link in my Discord. Links in the description below. So that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, I was just checking something because I get sidetracked so darn easily. Luthen's gallery has Mortis artifacts. Oh, no. And of course, it was also the same, Starkiller's armor. Starkiller's, I think it was a live stream. Okay, never mind then, because I'm not about to go through an entire live stream that is most likely guaranteed to give me brain cancer. If people watch the Sad Sacks, it would only be the Palpatine episodes, and that's it. Yeah, because we got a, nostalgia bait with Palpatine. The MCU isn't canon to 616. It's Earth 19999999999. Did it also? Okay, you guys are just going off. I'm going to keep going.
Many of those people have continued to contribute to Star Wars, both in the Legends expanded universe and in the new Disney content.
Pretty much the only people I'm aware of who contributed from the expanded universe to Disney was Timothy Zahn, who basically sold his soul to the devil, and James Lucino. And James Lucino ended up pulling out because he recognized just how bad Disney Star Wars was.
But I would also posit that neither of those definitions really matter all that much when talking about what canon means in the sense it's being used in these kinds of arguments. It sometimes feels like people think if you find just the right definition of canon and find the perfect combinations of things to count or not count, making it all perfectly internally consistent, the Star Wars universe will pop into being and we'll all have very expensive insurance because we get to play around with lightsabers.
No, people care because it's nerd stuff, because it all matters and has an impact. Because what's the point of reading a story in a large, sprawling universe if it's going to end up having no, impact? What would be the point of me buying an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man if I know it has no impact on the story or doesn't progress the story in any way? Also, Corey, the Legends timeline hasn't been continued since 2014. Only Disney canon material is being made right now. I think the closest we got was one issue of the Marvel comics, and that was it. I think that was the last thing of the expanded universe that was ever technically made. Star Wars has a consistent canon. Facts. Transformers Fan 03.
But unless that's actually the case and we can all get lightsabers, or we're living in a world where people are only able to talk about a fictional universe in the context of what George Lucas personally thinks about it, when people talk about Legends content or Disney content, they're very clearly talking about a specific interrelated body of work. Whatever people may feel about that particular body of work, it's completely irrelevant to pop into a conversation about the expanded universe and just say, actually, that's all fan fiction and never actually counted. Because again, we get back to asking, counted for what? The original trilogy and the prequel trilogies certainly exist in both continuities, and they're the core around which different expanded universes have sprung up. But there's
only one expanded universe. Don't ever try to say Disney Star Wars is the expanded universe. I have seen very few people do that, and it is the dumbest thing I have ever had to read. Stop calling the EU Legends, you fake fan. Yes, Darth Ghostface. I don't know why he keeps insisting on calling it by its fake name. If Disney really cared about fans of the old EU, we would have at least seen that sort of the Jedi trilogy, but that obviously will never see the light of day. Sadly, no. It won't.
Also very clearly a difference between how the Thrawn trilogy and the New Jedi Order series are interrelated to each other, and how they relate to two stories on Archive of Our Own or other fanfiction websites. And even then,
wait, back up, back the hell up. What? I'm sorry. It's like you're rattling off a bunch of nonsense that I'm honestly having a hard time keeping track. Star Wars was never a multiverse. It was intended to have only one continuity, one timeline, one universe. And it still does have one continuity, one timeline, one universe. There is no multiverse in Star Wars. Never was, never will be. It's either canon or it's non-canon.
Around which different expanded universes have sprung up, but there's also very clearly a difference between how the Thrawn trilogy and the New Jedi Order series are interrelated to each other, and how they relate to two stories on Archive of Our Own or other fanfiction websites. And even then, that's not a comment on quality that fanfiction can have, or that it's somehow invalid to enjoy fanfiction. It's about what the expected relationship between different works would be.
To be fair, fanfiction most of the time is pretty garbage. I should know. I have read a good fair share of fanfiction in my time, some of which has genuinely scarred me. I am not kidding. The World Between Worlds. Hold my green milk. Gay Loney. Introducing a multiverse is the way of saying, we're out of ideas, just throwing stuff at the wall. Yeah, take a look at Spider-Man. He's been suffering that for ever since, 2014, 2015, when Dan Slott decided to write the god-awful Spider-Verse comics, which eventually spun off into the god-awful Spider-Verse movies.
It all really seems to boil down to canon being used as a term for thing I like, and non-canon or fan fiction being a label for thing I don't like, rather than any actual metric of production or how media was or wasn't intended to fit together.
No. Corey, you got it all wrong. No. No, whenever anyone is talking about canon, they are meaning the events that happen within the timeline. what actually happens in the timeline and what doesn't. Canon would be the stuff that actually does happen. You know, immediately after Return of the Jedi, we have the Truce of Bakura. The Truce of Bakura is canon. The Aftermath trilogy, written by Chuck Wendig, is not canon. Deservedly so, because it is legit terrible. Dan Slott is a hack and a douchebag. Absolutely. You're saying you... I have never read a Raylo fanfic in my life, and I am not about to start. No. Please don't make me do that. I don't want to die young. I'm actually been thinking of doing a series one day, breaking down all of the garbage Dan Slott introduced in the Amazing Spider-Man comics. Stick around for that. Sub to the channel. Remember when Chuck Wendig had a full Twitter meltdown and got fired? I didn't know that happened, but I do know he's prone to throwing fits on Twitter. Hashtag Raylos are weird.
The expanded universe, whether we're talking about the Legends expanded universe or the comics, books, and even shows that make up the newer Disney canon, always come down to being a collection of works with their own continuity quirks and issues, created by a wide array of people with a wide array of goals.
No, the expanded universe pretty much had very little continuity issues, dude. Very little in the way of contradictions or continuity issues. And any that popped up were pretty much smoothed over as time went on. Because back then, the people who worked at Lucasfilm actually gave a crap. The Disney canon is not the expanded universe. He called Star Wars fans crappy because people called his books out for being trash. Dude's a snowflake then if he can't take criticism. Also, hey, it's almost like that meme I posted earlier today. Ah! Our first ad of the night, chat. First ad of the night.
The consistent Star Wars timeline isn't and wasn't usually the primary goal of any of those pieces of media, created by a wide array of people with a wide array of goals. Creating one fully consistent Star Wars timeline isn't and wasn't usually the primary goal of any of those pieces of media.
Yeah, that is blatantly a lie. And I don't know why you're showing the cover of the Essential Guide to Warfare here. Great book, by the way. I actually own it. Except for the parts that have TCW, unfortunately. People agree anything stupid in the EU just gets ignored. Don't nitpick, Corey. The EU was really consistent with the films. That's a fact. Liar! How can Andork fans accept... Oh, Andork. That is a good one, Connor. How can Andork fans accept that as canon, yet ignore that means the Acolyte is also canon? So much cope. You are coping and seething. You just can't handle what you're seeing. Yeah, you're coping. Oh, man, that is such a catchy tune. I am so glad Mr. Grizzy made me aware of that. They despise us. Yes, pretty much every fake Star Wars fan cannot despises us, real Star Wars fans, because, you know, we're having a blast ripping them down, taking them down. Up, Lucky Kennedy just threw a fit over me, dudes.
But there were attempts, whether they were pre or post-production of each individual piece of media, to explain how they fit together when they were considered part of one overall meta-universe. And yes, this does sometimes include entirely contradictory pieces of information.
No, it doesn't. Basically, the rule of thumb is to just ignore TCW because TCW just cannot be fixed. Who's Lucky Kennedy? Lucky Kennedy is somebody who really hates real Star Wars fans. That's all I'm gonna say. I've only had like a very slight beef with him. Really, the only thing he's done worth mentioning is that he was one of the people that exposed JJ plagiarisms, and that's about it. That's like the only other thing worth mentioning. This is turning out to be quite the stream. Then, yeah, he did. He did.
That is why things like the canon hierarchy existed before, or why you'd have Leland Chi come out and say how certain things supersede each other in the holocron database of continuity in situations where there are particularly egregious contradictions. So if you use the
Such as... I notice you're not giving any examples. Almost as if what you're saying isn't true. Connor, have some self-respect for yourself, dude. I don't think he's simping. I think he was making fun of her. At least I hope so. Connor, please tell me that was you just joking around. Because if so, it's a month early for Halloween, man. I don't need to get scared right now.
That the licensing company, whether you use that as a stand-in for George personally or Disney as an umbrella now, doesn't feel 100% beholden to follow all prior published content as a way to say Legends was never considered canon within any officially published Star Wars universe, you then do have to contend with the fact that, especially when it comes to live action shows and movies, they still have a lot of latitude to contradict lower level content, quote unquote, like books or even animated shows to some extent. But that
congratulations. You basically just explained why nobody should give a crap about the books or comics in the Disney canon, you moron. Congratulations.
Also doesn't change the fact that within the Legends continuity, for example, there were all these source books, there were all these forum posts and other ways where people would go and retroactively at least try to make sense of it all. And that's what I mean when talking about the intent to have these as interrelated pieces of media. You could go and ask Leland Chi or Pablo Hidalgo how people were expected to work with the old Marvel comics when they were writing new Star Wars media, and they'd have an answer for you. That answer doesn't have to be that they had to take every piece of information from those comics as gospel, but they were included in a specific body of work that we now talk about as the Legends Expanded Universe in a way that someone else's fan fiction posted online were not.
Excuse me, what? I just completely blanked out. Give me a second. And Big Man's at it again as well. Okay. Just checked. In his community post right now. Yep, he is. He's not the only one. What's up, Brandon DeShields? Hey, Hard Hot Reptiles. Glad you could make it to the stream. Welcome. I really hate the multiverse. You, me, and everyone else. Big Man Baby 2.0 needs to stay in the corner. The dude has been challenging me to, hop onto a Discord server so he and I can, debate. But all he does is he just wants to hide behind other people. Yeah, he's calling Backseater that. Now, I've cut ties with Backseater because of some stuff he said on Twitter. Some stuff that, honestly, you shouldn't say. So I forgot to remove him as a moderator. I've been meaning to do it, but I didn't get around to it, unfortunately. So now Lucky Kennedy and by extension Big Man are now trying to say I lied and I didn't cut ties with Backseater. Which, of course, means I'm either going to have to deal with a whole nother headache or does he believe in the fake Gatekeepers Alliance Discord Kirkar made? Doubt it. I seriously doubt he would believe it. What did Backseater say on X? He said that he said a really how do I say this in a good way that's not going to get this taken down? So he said that the actress who played baby kid Leia in the Kenobi show, deserved to get graped. That's all I'm going to say. That's what he said, and he tried to brush it off as a joke. He definitely crossed he really crossed the line there, unfortunately. So I cut ties with him because it honestly would have made. Yes, he does. He said he tried to backtrack that by saying it was a joke, but it's like even a joke, even then, that's like no, you don't say that. You don't joke about it. That's not funny. You shouldn't say that online. Unfortunately, so. So I cut ties with him because it frankly would have made my channel look bad if I continued to stream with him, which is why I just dropped him. I dropped out of showing up on his stuff. So and I just removed him as a moderator. Okay? I'm not going to kick him off the stream because, freedom of speech and all that. Unless he starts, crossing the line here, which I don't know if he will. So, yeah. I looks like I'm going to have to unsub from Backseater then. Yeah, it honestly was like, I care about kids, man. I want to be a dad one day. So it's like, I don't want to wish that kind of thing on anyone. Welcome back, Retro Ryan. No one, especially the disco actors, deserve to get graped. Absolutely, Khalil. Nobody deserves that. I wouldn't. If there's one thing I want to hammer home here, we can make fun of them. We can insult them. But we will never advocate for violence against anyone. Never. We're better than that. We're better than them. We don't want to, deplatform these people. We don't want to rob these people of their monetization on their YouTube channels. We just make fun of them. We insult them. We gatekeep them. That's it. Okay? That's all we do. So I honestly implore you, chat, to never, ever, ever, even in a joking sense, say what Backseater did, okay? Never. I'm serious about this. And to all of you out there who are going to think I still support Backseater, I don't. I don't condone what he did. I never will. As of this stream, he's no longer moderating for this channel. If he shows up in the chat, that's his decision, okay? I can't control what streams he can or can't be on. I don't want to control, people being on my channel or not. I don't want to have to block people. Okay. Now that we've kind of got all that serious stuff, he said it in a tweet. He actually tweeted it out. Let's hope there. Yeah, Knights of Melvin already called him out and said that he had gone too far. He got kicked out of Star Wars Scran's Discord server. OG Star Wars also denounced what he said. So I'm pretty sure, he's pretty much done. Like, turning away and, not. Welcome, Gubby, to the stream. I love femboys. What the hell, man? Why would you introduce yourself saying something so dumb like that? Come on, man. Anyway. Okay. Man, my voice. Okay. Oh, he got kicked out of Melvin's server? Huh. Okay. I'm not on Melvin's server anymore. I haven't been on Melvin's server for a long time because I needed, peace of mind. I was just becoming really negative, so I left. So I don't know what's going on over there. Is this a troll? Yes, it's a troll. Well, now it's not a troll anymore now that we know that you're trolling. So feel free to just talk with people, okay? Okay, back to this.
Example, there were all these source books, there were all these forum posts and other ways where people would go and retroactively at least try to make sense of it all. And that's what I mean when talking about the intent to have these as interrelated pieces of media. You could go and ask Leland Chi or Pablo Hidalgo how people were expected to work with the old Marvel comics when they were writing new Star Wars media, and they'd have an answer for you. That answer doesn't have to be that they had to take every piece of information from those comics as gospel, but they were included in a specific body of work that we now talk about as the Legends Expanded Universe in a way that someone else's fan fiction posted online were not. So Wesley...
What? Okay, even when I just tried paying attention and listening, I still have absolutely no clue what the hell he just said. No, we are not the hard hat reptiles. I broke ties with him. I'm done with him, okay? I put him in timeout. Good, Darth Ghostface. Neil, hi, I'm new. Welcome to the stream, man. Glad to see you're here. Hope you stick around, man. Feel free to talk with people, socialize, talk Star Wars. Okay? Lee and Hidalgo are hacks. Yeah, unfortunately they are. Hidalgo's even worse than just a hack. Ha 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 ha! Nice one. Nice one. Welcome to the stream, person whose name I'm supposed to not read. Pablo Hidalgo hates Star Wars fans and is a commie. Screw him. Okay. Jordan Star Wars, welcome to the chat, man. Hail at Brandon the Awesome, at Darth Ghostface, and everyone. Baloney, Hidalgo, Martin Chi are all hacks. Woo!
Legends canon. In the sense that it was an interrelated set of self-referential published works where some intent existed to have it all exist within the same kind of meta-universe, yes. At the very least,
Why are you calling it a meta-universe? Just call it one universe, dude. I don't know how the heck it's supposed to be a meta. I don't know what's meta about it. Hishi Hedhaha. I totally screwed up your last name, but welcome to the stream. I just found this in my FYP. I don't know what that means, but I'm glad you found us, man. Cool. Make sure to stick around.
Say that Legends content is canon to the Legends universe. And that's all anyone really cares about or means when they're going to talk about that specific media. And this goes downstream as well. For people who do like reading or talking about fan fiction from individual authors or a set of authors, then obviously if they're talking about that thing, any reference to connections or canonicity is going to be with respect to the thing they're talking about. It seems to me there should be some underlying understanding of the framework people are discussing something within, and if you just come in to say this framework doesn't count, you're not really adding anything of substance, and your only purpose for weighing in is to make people feel lesser for engaging in it. Perhaps
Basically, no, what we're doing is we're gatekeeping because God forbid we're going to let Disney run roughshod all over Star Wars. We are going to fight to make sure that George Lucas's legacy is persevered and that the expanded universe is indeed what fans of the future I'm saying random things. If you keep that up, you're going to get banished to the world between worlds, as Darth Ghostface or one of my other mods are going to do. Okay? Try and keep on topic here. Don't just say random creepy crap like that, okay? We will never stop fighting to persevere George Lucas's legacy. We'll keep fighting, and I'm not just fighting for Star Wars. I'm fighting for Marvel, DC, Sonic. I'll fight for pretty much any franchise that I'm interested in. And my heart will go out, and I'll support those fighting for their favorite franchises as well. I'm here to fight, to persevere, these franchises for the fans who will come, afterwards. I'm here so that future generations can grow up loving the same stuff I did. Welcome to the stream, Billy's Teeth.
the most eye-roll inducing version of this is when people will try to be like, oh, haha, I'm not trying to say they can't like it. They just have to admit that it doesn't count. Like, to be clear, I'm a guy in my early 30s talking about Star Wars for a living, so there's some level of baseline embarrassment I always feel talking about stuff like this.
Baseline embarrassment? Okay, then why are you talking about Star Wars then if it embarrasses you? Star Wars Theory is a hack. He does not protect the legacy. He just actively, constantly keeps stabbing it. Even though he's too lazy to read NGL. Star Wars Theory is a grifter. Yes, he is. I keep saying it. Give me 5 minutes alone with him on a live stream, and I will prove I know more about Star Wars than he ever could.
But when I read those comments, I just kind of want to crawl inside myself with secondhand embarrassment. I really just can't imagine what the goal is. Sometimes I think there should be
The goal is to make sure nobody spreads the lie of Disney Star Wars being canon. The goal is to gatekeep. And if that embarrasses you, well then, there's the door to the fandom. Oh, no, wait. You're a fake Star Wars fan. You're already out of the fandom. I like men because I'm a woman. No crap, Sherlock. Hi, welcome to the stream. Your name's a mouthful, but welcome to the stream. Theory doesn't know much about. Remember when he loved The Rise of Palpatine? Yes, I do. I remember when he actually got the novel early. I believe that somebody has that clip. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, chat. Okay. I have to copy a link real quick. Holy crap. It's 3 hours long. It's a 3-hour long live stream by Anthony Grogmala. He apparently went after the Gatekeepers Alliance. He made a live stream attacking the Gatekeepers Alliance. Holy cow. This is insane. Oh, I think he's I think he's a cover. I think he fell for the fake Discord server trick too. I'll have to double check it. Oh, I've heard about that. Anthony Grogmalo won Shield of the Week on Melvin's channel earlier this week over that. Oh, really? I'm sorry, guys. I haven't attended his streams in a while because I've been busy. So, yeah. Yes, he did fell. Oh, okay. Just goes to show that a leopard can't change its spots. Anthony Grogmala is still just as stupid as, when I last saw him. Anthony is also a Jacob Suggs defender. Well, I guess I know. We know who Jacob's fake wife is. I love girls. Hi, welcome to the stream. Ant isn't a Star Wars fan. I don't think he's a fan of anything. I think he literally just pretends because he barely knows the basics. Reminder, Anthony Grogmala used to work for CBR. That tells you everything you need to know about. Oh, that is... That's terrible.
Legal requirement to read everything you say on the internet in front of a group of your friends and family. And while I can happily sit and tell my nephew everything you say, what the goal is. Sometimes I think there should be a legal requirement to read everything you say on the internet in front of a group of your friends and family. And while I can happily sit and tell my nephews about the plot of Vision of the Future at my dad's birthday party if they asked or something, I can't imagine going up to them while they're playing Jedi Outcast or Jedi Survivor, whichever continuity you want to point this at, and saying, this doesn't count, right?
Basically, I do remember when my little brother was playing Jedi Fallen Order, I just looked at him and turned away. Like I gave him an ugly eye because he knows better. Because by this point, my entire family knows, the whole thing.
This, of course, does happen in both directions, where there are plenty of people who talk about Legends as if it's the true canon and say the same thing about newer canon not being canon. Because, again, you're not using a definition of canon that actually means anything. It's just a cudgel that people end up using to beat.
No, it does mean something. If it didn't mean anything, why are you annoyed by it then?
People with who don't like the thing they like. And in my opinion, this gets to some pretty unhealthy extents within the fandom as a whole. Well, certain bits within canon are actually among my favorite Star Wars media. That includes Squadrons being my favorite Star Wars game.
Oh! He just confessed to being a fake Star Wars fan, chat. We got it live on camera. Guys, Corey just outed himself. Yes, he did. Is Anthony that guy that's always going back and forth with that special needs kid that screamed at his mom? Yes, he is. Yes, I have. I got banned from J. Ouch. Squadrons is awful. Yep, it is certainly no X-Wing or TIE Fighter.
Alphabet Squadron trilogy being among my favorite Star Wars books, I would...
Alphabet Squadron? Really? Guys, he literally just admitted 2 pieces of Disney Star Wars content is his favorite Star Wars stuff of all time. He literally, he should be embarrassed. I don't know his name. I'm kind of new here. I just saw something about some. That's a backseater. Backseat streams. Hey, Darth Ghostface, can you get rid of the I Love Milking Men guy? Like, I'm convinced I got a troll coming in here with absolutely freaking gross names. Thank you. Get him out of here.
call myself more of a fan of the Legends continuity as a whole. At the very least...
No, you don't. You can't call yourself a fan of the expanded universe and then admit that you like 2 pieces of Disney Star Wars content. No.
It's what I know the most about, so most of my lore videos are about Legends content.
You're a fake lore channel. How? Whatever happened to that Logan guy who hates real Star Wars and loves Kylo Ren? I don't know. I haven't really seen him around. I've seen his imposter running around. Damn, you get haters / trolls. Hey, comes with the territory of being a gatekeeper. Logan Veracruz was this troll who's been running around. Iron Inquisitor knows him probably the best. I think that's what he's the one who's had beef with him the longest. But his whole thing is EU isn't canon. Disney Star Wars is canon. The EU sucks because Luke Skywalker turned to the dark side in Dark Empire. Never heard of him. He hasn't popped up. I don't think he's really popped up at all. I think he may have shown up in like maybe one of Scruffy's videos, but that's about it.
Despite this fact, it happens at least once a week that I will do a video about a piece of Legends lore, and I'll get comments about how it's Disney trash, or it must have been a Disney retcon that made some piece of Legends lore they just happen to not have heard of before. I very much do not want to dogpile on anyone individually here, because ultimately, if I have a goal with this video, it's trying to temper some of the things that I think lead to unhealthy online behaviors. But just from the 2 videos I posted this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, here are 2 comments where lore from 3 Legends sources, the novel Rogue Planet from 2000, the Complete Encyclopedia from 2008, and the Essential Guide to Warfare from 2012, get referred to or dismissed as Disney lore or Disney retcon.
Chances are it's because some of the stuff you reference may have TCW content in it, and TCW, content, is part of Disney Star Wars more than it is to you. iFestation, hi, what channel are you watching? We are covering, first of all, welcome to the channel, and we're watching Corey's Datapad. He's a fake Star Wars fan who loves Disney Star Wars. His name is Backseater. That guy needs some serious help mentally. What a sicko. Good thing you guys cut ties with him, Darth Ghostface. Yeah, dude seriously needs help if he honestly thinks it's okay to joke about grape.
I feel like this, as much as anything else, shows that this kind of debate is far less about actually discussing the things you like or dislike about different media, and instead about internalizing Legends fan or Canon fan as part of your identity, but more importantly, as mutually exclusive identities. And then quality of media in each continuity gets judged based on that fact. And I don't...
Not really. We just gatekeep because we need to. We need to preserve George Lucas's legacy.
think that's healthy for anyone. I understand being upset that a thing you like is not being made anymore, and that is part of what informs at least the legend side of this. But even if these had been videos about Disney content, I don't think this is a particularly effective way to deal with that. Either way, those are just my...
Okay, that was terrible. Honestly, he was just talking gibberish the whole time. I barely understood anything he said. Who else hates seeing Hayden Christensen embracing Ahsoka? I don't blame him, but it hurts to see. Oh. Yeah, that's bad. As somebody who actually really likes Hayden Christensen as Anakin, that is sad to see. All right. I think I've got time for one more video. One more video. And this is the one that Darth Ghostface recommended earlier. Darth Ghostface, if I get brain damage from this, I am blaming you, man. Oh, no. Over a year later, and you're still wrong about the Acolyte. CubeCo's a Star Wars channel. Oh my gosh. I just took a look at his channel. And this dude is a Disney Star Wars lover. He even went to Star Wars Celebration in Japan. And he's got a book of Boba. He's got a Cobb Vanth profile picture. I gotta write this down. I gotta add this guy to the list. The Acolyte is the worst Star Wars show. It is the worst Star Wars thing ever. Not this guy. He's a TikTok Disney shill. It's bad, Brandon. That ratio, though. 73 likes versus 130 dislikes. That is bad. Like, that is laughably bad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Yes, everybody, please go to this video and dislike it, okay? He's going on the list! Before we do this, I have a feeling I'm going to do a lot of yelling. So I am going to go grab myself a drink, okay? In the meantime, brief interlude. You know, get up, stretch your legs, do all that fun stuff. I'll be back in a few minutes. Maybe like 2. Yes, I did. A lot of shows are on the list. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back. Let me just get rid of this. Battlefront 2. The real Battlefront 2. Always a reliable source. Okay. Wet my whistle. Let us. Oh, no. I don't want to do this. No. Oh, but I got to do it anyway because, gosh darn it, I am a real Star Wars fan, and I will go through the 9 circles of hell. I will do my duty. Warning, video contains shilling. I gotta make. I should totally make that a bit cringe incoming. It's okay, Brandon. We'll do it together. Battle Peak 2. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay. Scruffy looking nerf herder, you lucked out tonight, man. Scruffy, you abandoned me. No. Okay. Okay. We got he's got like some crappy Disney Star Wars figures back here. Come on, man. 30th anniversary collection all the way.
Hello there. I'm going to be pretty blunt here. I feel like a lot of people are wrong when they say that this scene here from the Acolyte breaks canon or is not how you bleed a Kyber crystal, often pointing to the more explosive bleedings that we see in canon of Vader, Kylo Ren, Dagan Gera. But as far as
all of these are crap, by the way. And what the hell is that artwork of Kylo Ren? That looks bad. That accent. Ugh, I already hate this. Yeah, I hated it from the title alone.
you can see, this is in line with everything we've seen about bleeding Kyber crystals. And as for the argument of, well, she shouldn't be able to do it accidentally and stuff like that, we'll get to all of that as well. And this is actually my second time shooting this video because I put up on my TikTok last week about how this scene didn't...
You have a TikTok? Pathetic. Well, have fun with China taking all your private data and spying on you. Kylo Ren is a pathetic excuse of a villain. TikTok is a cancer. It breaks canon so much. Kylo is so gay. Kylo is like so gay. Oh my gosh. Did you hear? Kylo Ren is so gay. That is like my best airhead. I don't know what you would call that accent actually. Oh my gosh, you're so gay. I don't know why, but it's funny to do the accent though. Who am I kidding? I find accents I find it making, doing accents funny.
break canon, and the comments came out saying that I was wrong. I argued with them, others argued with them, they argued back with me. It was a whole thing. It was very fun. Make sure you follow me.
Well, congratulations. Oh my gosh, this guy dressed up as Beta Fett. Shout out to whoever came up with that Beta Fett thing. It was Connor. Connor, shout out. Thanks for giving me that name. I've been looking for a reason to replace the Bobby Fat one.
Over on TikTok if you want to get in on that. So I wanted to grab some of those comments and incorporate them into this video because it's a lot easier for me to say, well, people said this, and then have an example of people saying that, sort of something that I can directly respond to. So let's talk.
Okay, I will actually say that is a pretty good idea because then you're not acting like the hundreds of other channels that will just say something random and generic. The channels that will lie about us, they will lie and say we say hateful things. And then it turns out we don't actually say those things, but they don't have any of those information. They don't have any evidence.
About it. As of right now, we have had Kyber crystal bleeding 5 times. We've been present for it 5 times, I think.
Let's see. Terrible Darth Vader fan fiction. The worst thing to come out since ever. The Woke Republic, the video game that is a blatant advertisement for the Woke Republic, and the rise of Kylo Ren. Congratulations. All of these are crap. SJWs always love to strawman and quote mine you in order to slander you.
ink in new canon. Now, in the EU, bleeding kyber crystals wasn't a thing. This is a Disney edition. The red crystals in the EU were all synthetic.
Which actually makes much more sense because the idea is that the Sith take the quick and easy path. Hence, it would only make sense that they would just rush the creation of a, lightsaber crystal. And they weren't called kyber crystals either.
Canon, kyber crystals are all naturally attuned to the light side of the Force, so bleeding them is the process of corrupting them, turning them that blood red color, done so by pouring your anger, your hatred, your pain, your negative emotion into it. But what are the requirements to bleeding a kyber crystal? Now, nothing's been said.
You do know there are some Jedi that have had a red lightsaber, right? So are you saying that they poured their own hatred into said kyber crystal? There is no new canon. There is only one Star Wars canon. Absolutely. The only Star Wars canon is the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, the Clone Wars multimedia project, and the expanded universe. I don't know why you would say the Clone Wars multimedia project separately, unless you're just trying to, generalize which EU is in fact, Clone Wars is in fact canon. Synthetic red crystals for the win. Screw this bleeding crap. Facts.
In stone, but when we look at the 5 canon bleedings that we have, we can nail down that there's pretty much 2 things that you need to successfully bleed a crystal. The first one is that the person needs their emotions. Anger, hatred, pain, rage, fear. It's dealer's choice, really. Those emotions need to pour into the crystal, and this is what's going to corrupt it. And
so, for example, with fear, do I have to basically piss my pants, watching a horror movie in order to bleed my crystal? Is that how it works, guys? Am I getting that right? If crystal bleeding doesn't break canon, then Anakin's blue lightsaber would have turned red while he killed the younglings in Revenge of the Sith. Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me of that, Darth Ghostface.
Turn it red. The second is that the crystal has to be exposed. Now, originally, I would have said that there needs to be physical contact with the crystal, but 1, maybe 2, it's not quite clear. Other bleedings show us that it's not exactly required, but the exposure of the crystal is consistent over the 5 bleedings that we've seen, so I'm going to say that it just needs to be exposed. Now,
so basically, you need it out in the open. That's stupid. Bleed your crystal watching the Acolyte. Yes, this guy never made physical contact with a woman. Yeah, I can guarantee you this guy doesn't even know what outside looks like.
First look at kyber crystal bleeding comes from Darth Vader himself in the 2017 run of the same name in issue.
Boo! This sucks. This is fan fiction. And it's not even good fan fiction with Darth Vader. Darth Vader in the 9th Assassin. Darth Vader in the Ghost Prison. Darth Vader in the Last Command. Need I go on? Kyber crystal bleeding was introduced in Disney's fake canon in 2017. It was never a thing in real Star Wars, and it still isn't a thing. He has that General Mandine beard, if you know, you know. Oh, I know who General Crux Mandine is. I like it. I like the guy.
Number 5, after defeating the Jedi, Kirik and Filler, and taking his lightsaber for his own, Vader bends the crystal to his will, experiencing visions of his past, like Padme, Obi-Wan, his mother, and with a lot of difficulty and effort, he does eventually bleed the crystal.
This artwork looks kind of bad. I don't like it. I just don't.
Now, this is the part where people chime in with, but how did Vader struggle so much when someone like Osha didn't? Vader is so much more powerful than Osha. So why is there this struggle here but no struggle there?
Because the Disney Star Wars lacks something called a consistent continuity. It's as easy as that. Give me a second. And okay. Okay. Disney, Star Wars, Marvel Comics, or does there Machinery 964? And where did the term Kyber crystal even come from? The first use of the term Kyber crystal is technically taken from Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the very first expanded universe novel, but it was only referring to an ancient artifact that could amplify the force powers of a force user 1,000-fold. It was officially given to light. It was officially dubbed Kyber crystals thanks to TCW. So there's your answer, Machinery 964.
Go. It's a pretty simple thing, really. Bleeding is not a uniform experience for everyone. Everyone is different, and something that is going to contribute greatly to the bleeding experience is the emotional state of the person doing the bleeding. Now, at this point in time, Vader is still holding on to the past, whether that be consciously or unconsciously, I'm not sure, but he is still thinking that maybe he could do things right for a moment. And we see this play out in this comic on the pages previous, where in a vision, Vader doesn't bleed the crystal. He goes to the Emperor and kills him. He goes and finds Obi-Wan, all regretful. But Vader decides against that and draws upon him.
What? Hang on. What? Did you guys seriously see that? How did nobody bring this up before now?
State of the person doing the bleeding. Now, at this point in time, Vader is still holding on to the past, whether that be consciously or unconsciously, I'm not sure, but he is still thinking that maybe he could do things right for a moment. And we see this play out in this comic on the pages previous, where in a vision, Vader doesn't bleed the crystal. He goes to the Emperor and kills him. He goes and finds Obi-Wan, all regretful. But Vader decides against that and draws upon a massive amount of dark side energy to give him the...
You mean to tell me that Darth Vader thought, like, Vader was still thinking he could fix things? Dude, his wife is dead. The death of Padme is what, cements him as a Dark Lord of the Sith. Padme's death is what makes, Darth Vader fall to the dark side and never look back. The real Darth Vader would never think that. No, he wouldn't. Vader and Obi-Wan never crossed paths with each other between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Real Vader is completely lost until Luke brings him back. That's the whole point of the story. Exactly. If you read Star Wars, if you read Darth Vader and The Last Command, where I believe that's the story. We literally see that happen where Vader is just completely, gone. Anakin Skywalker is gone. Vader doesn't feel sorrowful. He regrets what happens to Padme, and that's about it. Disney was character assassinating Vader before the Jake Kenobi show made things even worse. Of course, the character of whom this entire 6 movies revolve around.
Push that he needs, because he is still that little bit conflicted. He needs to convince himself that this is the correct path forward. And so we get this very theatrical, very violent and explosive bleeding of the crystal sequence. Now, Vader is a sledgehammer. He is always going to be a sledgehammer every time, even in the times where a chisel might be more appropriate. Kylo Ren went through something similar, still holding on to the past. He struggled so much that he cracked his crystal, requiring the unique lightsaber hilt design just to make sure the damn thing doesn't collapse and explode in his hand. So we can...
Okay, why doesn't he just get a new crystal then? This crap is not canon. Yep, it isn't.
See that the emotional state of the user is very important when we look at someone like Dagan Gera as well from Jedi Survivor. Now, Dagan, comparatively to Kylo Ren and Vader, has a very easy time bleeding his crystal because he has no conflict within him. He believes himself abandoned and discarded by the Jedi Council in that moment. There is no hesitation, no dwelling on the past. He is committed and he bleeds the crystal with ease.
You know, why does anyone willingly bleed their crystal? Is that like a requirement or what? Like, I don't get it. Because it really feels like he doesn't need to. And frankly, Cal is an idiot because he doesn't strike down Dagan or at least prevent him from bleeding the crystal. You can clearly tell the dude's unhinged. Just knock him aside or something.
The crystal via the Force, not with physical contact. So this is where the no physical contact need rule sort of came to be, at least in my opinion. But the crystal was still exposed, so it does keep in line with what we know. Now, one of the commenters on TikTok took serious issue with this line of thinking, saying,
corrupt the Kyber crystal, teach it your pain, teach it your anger, hear it sing a hymn of darkness, make it bleed. That sounds retarded. Ugh. I don't know if I can.
that the requirements of bleeding a crystal need to be pretty much exactly what Vader went through. He quotes Palpatine from that same comic run and says that Osha just didn't do that, hence it breaks canon. But let's break it down. This whole thing here, you know, getting a crystal, going to somewhere dark side in the Force and teaching it your pain and anger and all that, it's a Sith ritual. It's the Sith ritual part of bleeding a crystal. It is ceremony.
But Dagan isn't a Sith, so why does he bleed the crystal? Okay? That just doesn't make any sense. Why would you willingly bleed your crystal if you are not, you know, if you're not an actual Sith? If it's a Sith ritual, why would anyone, bleed their crystal if they're not a Sith? Is it again, what constitutes needing to bleed your crystal then?
Ceremonial in a way, ritualistic, but not a requirement. In the canon reference book about lightsabers, it states that some Sith believe this.
Of course, it's got Kylo Ren and Rey Palpatine, not, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader fighting, like on the cover of the Star Wars Encyclopedia. Crystal bleeding is so retarded. It honestly just opens the door to so many baffling questions. Like, does every person who turns to the dark side have to bleed their crystal?
This is the only way that you should bleed a crystal, through this sort of ritual. Taking the weapon of a Jedi that you've bested in combat, going to somewhere steeped in the dark side of the Force. But again, this is ceremonial. It's set dressing. It's ritualistic, but it's not actually required. Think of it like a graduation ceremony. You can go to your graduation.
Hold up. If what you're saying is true, and the idea is that the Sith have to kill a Jedi in order to take their crystal and bleed it, how the heck did the Jedi never discover that several of their Jedi were going missing during the millions of years that the Sith were in hiding? Okay? Like, how come they never found, Jedi that just mysteriously died and sensed the dark side? Ha! When I saw Revenge of the Sith this year, somebody was making fun of Ray Soywalker when we were leaving. Base dude. Raylos are insane. Remember when they harassed Adam Driver's wife because they wanted him to date Daisy Ridley so to get Raylo in real life? They are freaks. I've heard some unhinged things about these people, actually.
You can put on the fancy gown and the cap. You can go up on stage, you shake hands, and you get given your diploma, and you've graduated. But you can actually just not attend that ceremony, and your diploma is still going to arrive in the mail. Either way,
yeah, but it's more appropriate if you just attend the ceremony. It just feels right. And they say we are the toxic ones in the Star Wars fandom.
You've still graduated because you've met all the requirements. Now, the commenter was adamant that this was a requirement and also used Kylo Ren's bleeding to support his argument, which doesn't quite work because Kylo Ren bled his crystal on a ship in the middle of space somewhere. He didn't go somewhere steeped in the dark side of the Force, so the argument kind of falls apart that it's a requirement. It is just a Sith ritual that some Sith take part in. They don't all believe this. It's just that Palpatine obviously was like, hey, this is the sort of ritual ceremony that we're going to do for you because you need this to sort of get you on the right path here.
Okay, then what's the freaking point then? Why send Vader off on this journey if he didn't even need to do it in the first place? It just sounds retarded.
Second thing that they really hit home on was that it takes conscious effort. It's not something that can be done by accident or unconsciously because everyone else beforehand did it on purpose. Now, nowhere in the text of comics, movies, reference books, what have you, does it say that it can't be done accidentally. Now, to be fair, nowhere does it say that it can be done accidentally. So we sort of have to fill in the gaps ourselves.
Because Disney Star Wars can't set rules for freaking anything. I mean, to be fair, lightsabers are now completely inconsistent because they can cut through blast doors in the Phantom Menace and kill a guy with a stab, but then the next moment they can barely, cause a flesh wound. Looking at you, Ahsoka. And with Sabine. Lightsabers are just, they're glorified baseball bats. That's all they are now.
Here. But what we get here is a case of misinterpreting data. Now, have you heard of the survivorship bias thing? It's the famous example of the World War II planes that have all the bullet holes. It comes back from a fight and the mechanics say, okay, well, we need to put more armor on these things. Where are we going to put the armor? And they decide to put it on the places that are most heavily damaged because that's where all the bullet holes are. So that's where they need to armor and reinforce it, right? But they're wrong. They are misinterpreting the data. This is the plane that took damage in those spots and was still able to return to base. So they actually need to put armor on the spots where the bullet holes aren't, because the planes that took damage in those spots didn't return. I'm just showing how easy it is to misinterpret data. You look at something and you can draw the wrong conclusion even when everything is staring you in the face. It's incredibly easy to misinterpret data and draw the wrong conclusion as well. So I don't really hold...
Yeah, it's incredibly easy to do that when you're an idiot. Like you are and like the people you're debating are, because the people you're debating, chances are actual fake fans. Robot Head was right. Disney doesn't understand lightsabers. Watching people unable to defend Reva getting stabbed twice still makes me laugh. Reva is crap.
That against anyone. But because every attempt they've seen of bleeding beforehand was a deliberate one, they get the wrong idea in their head that it can only ever be done deliberately, and that's not the case.
Okay, so are you saying that just people can randomly have their lightsabers turn red for no reason? Okay, then, if it's an accident, if it can happen by accident, again, why doesn't Anakin's lightsaber ever turn red then during episode 3? Let
me put it to you another way. Many of us had only ever seen single-bladed lightsabers for many, many years. You could be forgiven for thinking that this is the only way that lightsabers could be. They can only ever be single-bladed because everything you've seen beforehand has only ever been single-bladed. But then 1999 comes around and we see a double-bladed lightsaber on screen for the very first time. And this
isn't the first time we see a double-bladed lightsaber in Star Wars. Tales of the Jedi beat the Phantom Menace to it. Fake fan doesn't know his Star Wars.
A lot of people's first exposure to a double-bladed lightsaber. Or maybe you were like me and read Tales of the Jedi back in 1995 and saw Exar Kun with his double-bladed lightsaber there.
Oh, screw you. Don't try and pretend you're a real Star Wars fan. Because Crystal Bleed doesn't exist in real Star Wars, therefore the Acolyte, along with all of Disney Star Wars, is not canon. Bingo. Oh, man, I'm starting to kind of lose it, guys. It's
really fun. You should go back and read that stuff if you can. My point.
Yes, please go read the expanded universe and ignore Disney Star Wars. I implore to all of you, please do so. This guy is indeed a fraud, Darth Ghostface.
Is seeing a new concept, a new take on a pre-existing idea doesn't break the original idea. It's simply an expansion, an evolution.
Pretty sure everything Disney has introduced to Star Wars has shattered canon one way or another. So shut up.
Of it. So if you think that this scene here breaks canon because it's different to what we've seen beforehand, then you must also say that this scene here, or this comic panel, also breaks canon because we have
False equivalence, moron.
Seen it done this way before either. Now, another frequent comment that was made was that if Osha could accidentally bleed the crystal in the lightsaber, then why didn't Anakin's bleed?
Here we go. Here we go. You can now see why this retarded video got downvoted into oblivion. Disney hasn't improved or evolved anything in Star Wars. Absolutely not. Here we go. Revenge of the Sith time, baby.
During Revenge of the Sith, during Order 66, slaughtering Jedi and younglings in the temple, or during his fight with Obi-Wan. For the simple answer, bleeding wasn't around then. Kyber crystal bleeding is a Disney...
Or maybe because it was or maybe because Disney Star Wars doesn't give a crap and retconned it, therefore breaking canon with the movies. Nice try.
Addition to the lore, and one that I actually quite like, actually. So the boring answer, crystal bleeding, is a Disney addition to the lore, and one that I actually quite like, actually. So the boring answer is just...
Bingo! He just confirmed that he is a fake Star Wars fan who likes Disney Star Wars. Fake fan. Crystal bleeding wasn't a thing then because it was never a thing in in real Star Wars. Sorry, I just butchered that.
That it didn't exist. That's why. Luke gets a blue lightsaber in A New Hope, so the saber needs to stay blue. The in-universe answer, though, is actually just as simple and boring. Remember the two requirements of bleeding a Kyber crystal? Pouring of all the emotions into an exposed crystal. Anakin's crystal was not exposed.
But if we're going by the Acolyte, which takes place within Disney's own continuity, then technically you don't need the lightsaber to be exposed. And since you're trying to defend this scene in the Acolyte, then basically you just shot yourself in the foot, you moron. How funny is it? This guy is... because the crystal is actually still covered.
Very simple, mundane, boring answer. So we've talked a little bit about Vader's bleeding, Kylo Ren's bleeding, and Dagan Gera's. Let's jump to a new one that we see briefly in the High Republic novels.
Oh no, we're diving into the Woke Republic, guys. I remember having bought into the crystal bleeding crap for a while and even believing at some point it was in the EU. Well, good thing you pulled it out. Wasn't Osha's crystal not exposed when her lightsaber turned red? Absolutely. It was still inside the lightsaber. The lightsaber is never opened.
Spoilers for Trials of the Jedi. It's a newer book. I only finished it recently, so I'm giving it a spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1.
Don't care. This book is trash. The Woke Republic is trash. Disney Star Wars is trash.
The end of the novel, the fallen Jedi Aslan Rel escapes and heads out on his own into the galaxy after finding the old ship of a Jedi with a lightsaber still inside. Now, Aslan Rel was a Jedi when he was young, but an encounter with the Nameless, creatures that feed off of the Force itself, and it renders Jedi...
What is this? This doesn't look like Star Wars. What is this? None of this looks like Star Wars. It just doesn't.
To empty husks of stone that crumble apart. Aslan was sent insane by this because he witnessed it firsthand, and the presence of the Nameless blinds the Jedi in complete fear. I'll read you a little excerpt from this section of the book. Again, spoilers here.
Guess the only thing that's going to be bleeding is our ears, guys. That artwork is dog crap. Yes, it is.
A small crystal caught the light, and Aslan carefully removed it from the lightsaber's hilt. so it's exposed. He held it up, looking at it, seeing the strange sort of spirit it had. It was not alive, but it was certainly not dead. Its energies bent away from him as if
Lightsaber crystals are not freaking sentient.
it knew what he was about to do, as if it was afraid. Do it, he thought. Skip ahead, he remembered how he hated himself for the inability to resist or fight back. He felt shame, pain. He remembered the feeling of his thumbs pressing into his eye sockets and pushing, of gouging, of the sharp, ragged edges of his nails puncturing, hoping for relief, and then understanding that mutilating himself had achieved nothing, nothing at all. The long walk of years existing, hating. Pain, pain, pain. In Aslan's sight, the little Kyber crystal screamed. It screamed without sound, and his strange new sight, he saw its aura twist, compress, writhe, and burn. His hands moved quickly again, reassembling the lightsaber, adjusting and modifying, already making the weapon into something that was his, no longer the weapon of a Jedi. Aslan Rel ignited the lightsaber, and a smooth blade emerged from the hilt. He could not see its true color, but he knew it was red. No grand explosion, just drawing on pain and fear from his past and successfully bleeding the crystal. Red.
Which is beyond which is beyond stupid. Jake Skywalker is gay, Luke Skywalker is straight. Absolutely.
Now, the people that pointed out that the Vader bleeding process from the 2017 run, that's how it should be done. The same person that wrote the Vader thing and this book, same person, Charles Soule. Two separate
And Charles Soule can't write for crap.
bleeding events, both carried out differently, but the same markers are there. The exposed Kyber crystal, the pouring of emotion into it, same writer, so I don't know why one would be accepted and the other one wouldn't. So there is that.
Maybe because the guy couldn't make up his darn mind or nobody could set him straight. Charles Soule is a sack. It is a hack. Charles Soule sold his soul. Ha! The peak of the Jedi somehow becoming bland by the prequels because of whatever. Nice one.
Now, finally, we get to Osha in The Acolyte. As a refresher, let's just remember, again, the requirements that needed to be met. An exposed Kyber crystal and the negative emotion pouring into said crystal. It does not need to be deliberate effort. Again, you can accidentally do something. Just because people have deliberately done it doesn't mean it can't be done accidentally. We've seen
which then doesn't explain how people who briefly, go into the dark side, don't believe they're crystals.
people use the Force without knowing it. I think Anakin was the only human pod racer as a 9 or 10-year-old. Think of the Kyber crystal as a sponge. That negative emotion pours off a person into it. Also, one commenter didn't quite know what the word exposed means and answered like Kronk for some reason when I said that the crystal was in fact exposed. Side note, I asked several
it's not exposed. That's pretty much because basically Disney Star Wars doesn't even know how lightsabers work. That's basically how... Because, again, she manages to ignite the blade with the crystal inside it like that. So, by their logic, that would be how every lightsaber operates. So, no, that's not how it works, you moron. You once again got tripped up. This guy is a bad liar.
times if they knew what the word meant, and they dodged answering every single time. So do with that information what you will. Now, what's happening when the crystal begins bleeding in this scene? Does anyone remember what is actually happening? I'll give you a hint. Osha is murdering Sol. Osha is killing someone with the Force. Force choke, in fact. I'm going to say that that would probably fall under a dark side ability. So she is literally murdering someone with the Force. The person who has been lying to her for years. The person who killed...
Wait, by this case, Anakin Force chokes Asajj Ventress in an episode of TCW. Why doesn't his crystal bleed then? Because I remember it was like, I think the Ahsoka arc, the wrong Jedi. And at one point he confronts Ventress and starts choking her for information. And, and he, is using a dark side ability. So why does his crystal not bleed then?
Killed her mother, the person who is responsible, directly or indirectly, depending on how you want to look at it, for everything that has gone wrong with her life. There is a great amount of anger and betrayal happening here. And that's when we see the crystal begin to change. A lot of people said it happened instantaneously. I don't know what show you were watching. It did not happen like that. Maybe stop, watching the show and looking at your phone at the same time, or maybe...
Why? The show's so boring that people just can't help it. Anakin also force-struck Padme in Revenge of the Sith. His lightsaber didn't turn red at that point with his fight with Obi-Wan right after that. Ooh! His lightsaber should have turned red when he had yellow eyes, but it didn't. Of course it didn't.
Stop getting all your opinions from YouTubers secondhand. I don't know, but it didn't happen instantaneously. It was a small, gradual thing. One thing that someone asked was, why wasn't there an explosion, the big explosive type thing when the crystal bled, because it had happened with 3 other bleedings. Why wasn't it here? My theory was just because the crystal was still inside the hilt of the lightsaber.
No, it's because Disney Star Wars doesn't know anything about being consistent.
And still connected to all these parts whose sole purpose is to focus and contain that energy and put it into a beam. And I'm going to say that it being in the hilt contained that explosion, I guess. That's just my simple theory, but as we just read with the Aslan Rel one, there didn't...
That sounds stupid. Now he's using headcanon. Oh, man. Watching The Acolyte is torture. Yeah, if I was forced to actually watch The Acolyte, I'd probably gouge my own eyes out. Because Disney Star Wars, in quotes, is filled with plot holes and doesn't understand Star Wars lore. No, it doesn't.
Seem to be any big explosion there, and the crystal was completely exposed there. Again, maybe it just comes down to the user and just how much effort they are putting into it. I'm not sure. This part, honestly, still open for debate. Other criticisms I've seen of this was that she wasn't angry enough, she wasn't screaming, or she wasn't in pain. Pain is not only physical. Emotional pain is also a thing. Have you ever been so angry that you were just like seething in silent rage?
Yes, that's me every single time I'm reminded of Disney Star Wars or the state of Spider-Man or Sonic. I quite literally, am filled with seething rage every time I think about it. I just can't help it. If you have to use headcanon to explain plot holes in Disney Star Wars, you're just proving it's objectively bad. Facts.
No? Okay, well, life must be very nice for you then. But it is possible. People don't always express in grand theatrical ways how they're feeling. Vader didn't originally say no during this scene. We could understand what he was thinking, what he was feeling here without any words. Now, George Lucas inevitably didn't think so and added in the no later on, but it is...
Yeah, and that's exactly how it goes, because what George Lucas says goes. I will never forgive Disney for what they have done to Star Wars and Marvel. Don't forget what they did to their own stuff. Don't forget what they did to their own stuff, dude. Like the live-action remakes. I will never forgive them for all 3.
It's possible to get across how someone is thinking and feeling through body language. I've seen other people say that it just wasn't a very exciting bleeding scene compared to the others, and that's why they don't like it. And in all honesty, fair game. If that's why you didn't like it, I'm not going to argue against that. It is a lot more subdued and subtle. I think that fits quite well with Osha and her character in this moment, though. If you
Stop
did want
praising
it to be
the
more,
Acolyte, please, for the love of God,
and aggressive, I'm not going to fault you for that. I think that is a fair criticism. But at the...
That Vader nose change in the special editions ruins that scene in Return of the Jedi. I respectfully disagree, Darth Ghostface, but if that's how you feel about it, that's fine. Special editions aren't for everybody.
End of the day, this scene doesn't break canon.
Yes, it does. We literally quite proved that.
It doesn't get anything wrong about kyber crystals or lightsabers or bleeding or the Force. I enjoyed The Acolyte. It was a very flawed show, but honestly, some people...
It was a dumpster fire. Why does this have 1,000 views, chat? That was brain damage and a half. Yes, it does break canon. Okay, yeah, that would have been a bad bit. I think we need to dislike the video more. Go ahead and dislike it then. Do what you can, dude. That shill didn't debunk crap. No, he did not. They never can debunk us. They never can debunk us. Glad that's over. Speaking of over, it's time we wrap up the stream, everybody. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the channel, share the streams with other people, and remember to continue debunking these shills, gatekeeping them, and doing your, God's work. Continue to debunk these people who seek to destroy these fandoms. And until then, always remember to be awesome, and I'll see you next week. See you, everybody.